Athletes in recovery and their amazing stories. Joe Tilley's Great Canadian Sports Show. Coming up! A number of our guests this year talked about their experience with addiction and the many adverse effects, chemical dependency, and the terrible consequences of that disease, as well as gambling addiction, a situation that has been amplified by the explosion of the online gaming and sports betting world. Ken Daniels is a Toronto native, a CBC alumnus, and the voice of the Detroit Red Wings. He lost his son Jamie to a fentanyl overdose in 2016. Ken talked to us about turning that pain into an opportunity to help others. We have something else in common, and that's we both lost a son to a fentanyl overdose. Tell us about Jamie.
He was fun. He was gregarious. He loved to laugh, and that's why for our foundation we do roast. There he is with our previous dog Puck in the basement. Puck would be a great partner for him and his sister Arlen. We lost Jamie at 23 years old. He loved hockey, loved basketball too. Was a pretty good basketball player, and he had a little height on me. Actually, he hit I think 5'9" or so, which was big for our family. But he loved to laugh. A good kid, a big heart, and so many friends. And that day when his funeral, on December the 11th of 16, when he passed, one of the worst snowstorms we've had in Michigan in years, and that was when Mickey had the cup. We were young. That was the last picture we had together in Florida on the ice. He was in rehab in Florida, and was 228 days of sobriety, and days of sobriety matter. And scrupulous doctor there, who's now was sentenced to 20 years in prison, was reduced to 12. But that whole place where he was staying, where he shouldn't have been staying, doctors who duped him and gave him Xanax when you you could never give a recovering addict Xanax. And they did. He felt better about himself, and he should have known not to take anything. I'm absolving him from him. But that home, and people were ripping people off with free rent just so they could go through the whole cycle, what is called patient brokering. You go get blood tests, and I was getting bills for $50,000 for pissing in a cup. I mean, it was unbelievable, and how fraudulent it was. And we had over 60,000 of bills. Some people had millions, because they just get you to a place where you think you're in a sober home. They send you for testing. The doctors built the insurance industry, and the whole sober home, which isn't, gets paid off. And Jamie was in that sober home, should have known, not so sober home, should have known to take nothing, but he did. And the pill he took was laced with fentanyl. And they waited to clean up the place, stole his shit. E60 did a report on that on ESPN, and they waited an hour before they called the meds, and he was already gone.
You started the Jamie Daniels Foundation with your wife and your ex-wife. Tell us about the foundation's goals.
To end the stigma surrounding addiction, as we say, one life lost is one life too many, and it is about prevention and recovery. And they talk about, now we're just at a conference, about ineffective education strategies, and like putting on like one-time events or personal testimony from people in recovery. They're viewing that now as not as effective as it could be with basically social learning and learning at a young age and coping skills. And we see bullying now and what you can turn to. So through the Jamie Daniels Foundation, and we write grants, we're in how many middle schools now in the area, many different areas here in Oakland County. And we're teaching mindfulness programs, yoga, so that kids know if they're stressed out, if there's any bullying involved, how to handle yourself. It's mental wellness. We talk about the disease and addiction and mental sickness. We like to refer to this as mental wellness. So you have coping skills. Those from this conference seem to be that we're on the right path, because these are the effective strategies, teaching kids at a younger age and coping skills. And that's what we're doing now through yoga in the school system. As well, at college, we have the Jamie Daniels Foundation has issued grants, more than 700,000 in grants since we came into existence roughly in 2018, 2019, until we found our way. And Jamie went to Michigan State, and that was the first program. So we provide 24/7 counseling. There's a dorm. In the dorm, there's a floor for those who are recovering. If they have to leave and come back, we can cover their expenses. There's a Jamie Daniels scholarship involved as well. So we're in 9 Michigan colleges now offering that program with different levels of grants, whether it be 50,000, 25,000, 15,000, for writing grants and through our fundraising efforts. And roast, back to your question about Jamie, because he loved to laugh. So that's why we do roast. We did the Lidstrom and Holmstrom roast this year. It was the toast of Nick Lidstrom, because you couldn't believe it. The roast of Thomas Holmstrom. We roasted Scotty Bowman. Would have been live. We would have loved it, but then with COVID, we couldn't. We did that virtually. And the roast of Brett Hull, again, we did virtually. The NHL people who just step up. Darren Pang helped host that one. We've had Dave Hodge host a couple of times with Scotty Bowman in the first roast, with Mickey Redmond and Doc Emmerich. The great Doc Emmerich has hosted a couple as well. So just been wonderful. The live events were great, and overall, each of those events, we, raising more than $300,000 from those events. People have a wonderful time, and all that money goes out for the grants and the recovery programs. And we also at Children's Hospital of Michigan.
Former Major League pitcher Jim Maloney has been sober for over 40 years. Jim says it was a phone call from another Major League great who helped lead him into treatment.
Got a phone call. I got a phone call from the guy that I lockered next to in Cincinnati, a guy named Jim Merritt. He was a left-handed pitcher for Minnesota. Then he got traded to us in the late 60s. And he did a real good job in 1970. He won 20 ball games for us. And so anyway, he would carry a bottle around with him. And I always said to myself, I'm never going to be like this guy. This guy really was sick. And drinking all the time during the day and everything. That was obvious. And I get a phone call, and it was Jim Merritt. And he told me that he'd been sober for 6 years. And I didn't believe him. And he was down in LA, and they'd heard that Jim Maloney was out, on his ear, and alcohol was, I was having problems with alcohol in my life. And he says, I can give you a number to call. And he says, you can talk to this fellow and you can get some help if you want to do something about your drinking. And so anyway, he gave me a number, and I called this number. And it was a guy named John Newton. He was the medical director of Unocal 76, which is a big gas company here, oil and gas company in California. And they sponsor all the Dodger games. They still do. And he was sitting there, and he was the medical director. And he says, hey, there's a guy sitting here at my desk right now. He wants to talk to you. And I said, who in the world would that be? So he put him on the phone, and he says, hey, you stupid idiot. He didn't say that. He sort of cussed me out.
Yeah.
And what are you doing? Trying to kill yourself? He says, why don't you? He says, we got a spot here you can go to and get some help. And you know what I said? This is how cunning, baffling, and powerful this disease is. I said, let me have a week to think about it. And that's how, that's about how much denial I was in about where I was at that particular time of my life. But anyway, it was Don Newcomb. Don Newcomb. Yeah, and Don Newcomb was sort of working as the EAP guy for the Dodgers, and he was working with guys that had problems drinking, and he did a lot of stuff to help. There were several players, Maury Wills. There were several players. Bob Welsh was a pitcher. And anyway, that's what Newcomb did, and he did it for till he passed away. Maybe he passed away about a year ago, I think it was, 90 some years old. But Nuke was like 30 years sober, I think, or maybe more than that at the time. But he lockered next to me in Cincinnati with the first year that I signed in 1959, at the end of his career, and I saw him being dragged to get on into the plane. He was so drunk because he was scared to fly, and how bad he had a drinking problem at that time. And he had gotten help and had this job with the Dodgers. So anyway, they said to call this number, and I called this number, and it was a treatment program over in Wickenburg, Arizona, called the Meadows. And I did a lot of good things. I made a lot of good pitches in my career, a lot of good choices, pitching and making the right pitch. But the best choice of my life that day, I threw in the towel. I got on a plane. I went to Wickenburg, Arizona. That was February the 5th of 1985. And I haven't had a drink since that day, and God willing, I'm only worried about today, but God willing, this February the 5th, it'll be 40 years. So, but
Wow.
I just live in today, one day at a time. Today is the only day that matters for me.
Former NHL defenseman Paul Martin talked about his recovery journey, along with Saul Ryan, who started Recovery Community Hockey, a sober league that has grown by leaps and bounds.
And it's led to something that we could have only dreamed was possible, and that led to a connection with Jared Jenkins, who works for the Minnesota Wild, and he came to this gate and said, "Hey guys, I really would love to do a recovery night, a sober night, and have a meeting before a game, and then everybody go to the game, and you think we can get 50 people?" And I said, "Yeah, we can get 50 people." And so we got 200, and then it ended up being a big success, and then we said, Jared, I think we can, we think we can really make this something even bigger, and we can bring in some retired NHLers. And so we brought in Derek Sanderson the next year for the second annual Minnesota Wild Recovery Night. Derek Sanderson being a legend out in Boston, and long-term sober guy, and so we grew it from 200 to 500, and then it's just been a really incredible journey from there.
Coming into the league, that was pretty apparent that was just part of the way that it was, to be able to just kind of fit in and be a part of the group, and and the travel and the demands, and ways to cope through the just through the season and to get through it. And I think, by the end of realizing that that's part of like who you are, and then going through the recovery process and getting sober, and, who am I without that? How am I going to have fun? How do I go to a bar and not drink? How do I, make friends, build relationships? I feel like that is definitely a fear that I had, especially early on in recovery. And so a lot of that, I think, changed spending time with people that were doing the same thing that I was doing, wanting the same things that I wanted, had values that started to align with me as I started to realize like what I wanted and what was important to me. And you kind of learn who your real friends are, as far as that, want the best for you, that, love you no matter what, and are happy for your growth and your journey. And so I think that just takes time. Like I just got back from a fish show in Vegas at the Sphere, sober with some buddies that have changed over time, which, for the music, it was incredible, and the lights and the show, which before, I got sober, that wasn't even be possible, anxious even going to the concert, knowing that I was sober. Like, so I feel like all of that is possible over time, working a program and surrounding yourself with the right people.
You can't turn on a sporting event today without being inundated with ads for betting sites. And there's a severe downside. Many of those who are betting become addicted. We talked to recovered gambler Johnny Silverstein and Alan Carlip, a counselor at Addiction Rehab Toronto. And then eventually when he started to bet, he said the first bet he made, he had two, you had to pick three games. He picked two right, and the third one was tie. And he was that close, and he kept trying to get his money back. At one point, he lost. He estimated $200,000. He stole money from his wife. He he robbed the company that he worked for. He took their bank deposit, a $30,000 theft. He got caught, of course. He lost his job, went to jail, and ruined a relationship with his boss, who he felt like, who treated him like a son. This was a devastating situation. Did you have something similar happen in your life when it comes to, the devastating consequences?
I mean, I've had a lot of devastating consequences. I've had run-ins with pretty much every bookie in the city, the Italian bookies and the Russians, and I've had debts so deep that I had to borrow money from loan sharks to pay them back, and it was in the tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I've had a lot of run-ins like that. It also ruined uh, the current relationship that I'm in. It was we were about, I mean, we broke up multiple times because of my gambling addiction. And then finally, thanks to her, I mean, that she's the reason why I finally started to get the help that I needed. And it's been a slow road, but a great road since. I actually had a tattoo shop in Yorkville. And for the first year, I was doing all my deposits correctly, uh, crossing all my T's, dotting all my I's, doing everything by the books. And slowly I started to really just kind of realize that there's really nobody checking on me. And this is technically my money. And instead of paying my employees and paying for bills that came in and invoices, I would take all the end of day money and go to the casino. And slowly over, I mean, I took a multi-million-dollar a year business and drove it right into the ground because of my gambling, and inevitably we closed after 5 years.
Alan, why is it so hard for an addict, alcoholic, gambling addict to stop?
Well, I mean, just like any sort of addiction, the reward pleasure center in the brain, it causes a hit of dopamine, and I think what happens for anybody that abuses substances, gambles, you're trying to chase that first intense hit of dopamine, and with gambling specifically, people are trying to chase that first win, or that feeling that they get when they get that first big win. And you know what happens is people try to chase that over and over and over, where to the point where it becomes a compulsive and impulsive sort of way of acting out. And it just becomes a pattern where everything in that person's life becomes unmanageable. And all that matters is the next bet, next bet, next bet. And you're trying to chase those brain receptors that sky off that intense feeling of dopamine. So, that's really a huge component to it. I think nowadays, too, just how easily accessible sports betting is, and how easy it is for someone to place a bet, gets people in that level of exposure where it just starts to become part of the tradition of not only just watching sports, but now I can put money on it and I can enjoy it, to that point. And then when you get that win, that chase continues to happen.
Yeah, that's what Rod my friend was telling me. He says like he sees a situation now where people that are sitting at home, they can smoke marijuana, drink alcohol, and make bets all in the convenience of their own living room on their phone. And it's just anybody who's got any problem with one of the three or all of the three, it could be in an awful lot of trouble. Like how bad is it getting out there, Alan?
Well, I'll tell you this. So, and this is just on record for statistics. Last year in 2023, the iGame Ontario that was formed, every province got to form their own standardized policy for gambling. So the IGO, the iGame Ontario, 63 billion was registered in Ontario, and that's not just that's just only the statistics for online, and that's excluding illegal offshore websites. So out of that $63 billion last year that was placed on iGame Ontario, 15% of it, which is their equivalent of 10 billion, was sports betting. So you're seeing a skyrocket increase of volume from people that are making this a habit, a daily habit, a weekly habit, and really wanting to emphasize that as a big component to how they watch and why they watch sports.
If you feel you might have a problem with gambling, you can call 1-888-230-3505. Former Maple Leafs defenseman and sportscaster Jim Howie McKenney says looking into the mirror, finding a power, and working with others have been the key to his recovery.
And I asked him what happened, and he tells me the story about this guy that took him through the book. And I said, well, where are these guys? And they said, well, they have meetings down on the beaches tomorrow night. I said, well, I'm going to go. I went to there. The first guy I bumped into when I went into the meeting, I asked him to take me through the book. He said, well, where do you live? I said, Hyde Park. He says, oh, I'm at Bloor and Keel. I said, perfect. So we could meet at the Grenadier restaurant every morning for like 30 days, 35 days. And he ended up taking me through the first 164 pages of the book. And then after that, I started taking people through the book. and it just mushroomed from there. And I've never had a problem since. As far as drinking and drugging go, I, I have no desire at all to ever drink or use drugs again. But my behavior gets a little offside every once in a while if I stop doing what I have to do, because I'm still crazy. The main problem for the alcoholic isn't the phenomenon of craving that we get when we put the stuff into us. The main problem is if you know you've got the phenomenon of craving, why would you do it? And that's the insanity of the disease. You keep thinking it's going to be different every time, and it isn't. It's worse. Yeah, it gets worse.
Yeah.
It's a progressive disease that always gets worse, and it's rampant out there now. Like if I want to be a Catholic or a Buddhist or a Hebrew or something, it's going to take me 10 or 11 years to learn all the disciplines of those religions. So, there's no way that I would do that. But I can believe in a power greater than myself, just like that, and a power greater than Jim. And I don't have to go around looking for my problem. All I got to do is go up into the washroom and have a peek in the mirror. There's my problem right there. Me. I'm my problem. I caused all my own trouble. I got sick with this disease and I didn't get help right away. And I'm sure the help was always offered to me, but I never took it. So, and now, like I'm working with maybe 5 guys a week, 3 times, 5 guys 3 times a week. And I go to a couple of meetings a week. So I ended up doing about 18 meetings a week. This Zoom stuff, it's fantastic.
Howie has helped many alcoholics and addicts change their lives. He and I are both sobriety coaches with Addiction Rehab Toronto. 1-855-787-2424. When we come back, Canadian Paralympic gold medalist Paul Rosen shares his recovery story. Addiction Rehab Toronto, Toronto's #1 alcohol and drug treatment center, saving lives, reuniting families. The only treatment center in the province to offer medical detox, treatment, sober living, and lifetime aftercare all in one place. Our unique and specialized programs are designed to equip our clients with the tools to successfully lead a life of dignity, respect, and purpose. Let us help save your life or your loved one's life. Call today for more information or to facilitate an intervention. 1-855-787-2424 or visit addictionrehabtoronto.ca. But I do remember those days, and I do remember that when you're locked into addiction, depression, mental illness, so you're locked in there. You believe that there's no way out because you're only thinking with the same brain that's creating the sickness all over again. You can't get out of that, right? But when you ask for help and you reach out and you realize there is another way, and then you try that other way, and then you experience a life changing spiritual awakening, and you become a different person, and you start to have some and start to give it away. You get some gratitude by giving away, by helping others, and it rockets you into that 4th dimension of existence that they talk about in this little book here that we have. And so being there, being rocketed into that 4th dimension of existence, you can't compare that. I mean, you can't compare that to anything in the past. But people who are stuck in that dark place can't fathom this. They can't fathom this. And it's kind of like the never give up thing, right? If you can convince people to make it that one more day, to stick around for that one more day, around the corner, just ahead is going to be that day that you're able to do it. And then you're able to do it for that day. And you know what? If you can do it for today, you can do it. You can do it, right? Because it always is just today, right?
One of the things I love about going to an AA meeting and doing chips is it's great to see somebody get 11 months, 12 months. It's great to go to a medallion, but I love looking at the eyes of the man or the woman, the boy or the girl that gets their desire chip. I still carry in my pocket my desire chip and my 1-year medallion, because that was the day that I realized that, okay, I'm doing it today. If I have a problem tomorrow, I'm going to call somebody. And that's what I never did. I always tried to do it on my own, Joe. Now I have a group, I have a list of 4 or 5 critical people that I could call at 4 o'clock in the morning, and they'll talk me through what I'm going through.
Parents, what's the biggest fear for kids 10 to 14? A future they think they can't handle. At Believe, Become, Be You, we know confidence in the future is a habit we can build. Our course doesn't just prepare kids for the future, it seeds them with skills they will use now. For a limited time, the I Believe in Me Foundation is offering the first 1,000 kids and their parents 1 year free access. This priceless opportunity will save you over $2,000. This isn't just a course. It's a journey in developing life-enhancing skills that will grow with your child, fostering gritty minds, creative futures, and better bonds. Get signed up now at BelieveBecomeBeYou.com. That's BelieveBecomeBeYou.com.
Discover the secret to timeless vitality at Renew Medical Center in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Our specialists unravel the science of aging, tailoring plans to defy its effects. Experience cutting-edge regenerative therapies such as stem cells and exosomes, addressing aging at its core.
It's a wonderful spot, and I highly recommend it for whatever you may need, whether you just want to feel better, you want to look better, have basically a quality of life, just to ramp it up a little bit as we age.
Liberate yourself from aging-related concerns, where accountability, technology, and passion for regenerative medicine converge. Begin your path to peak health and wellness with us. Schedule your appointment today at renewpv.com and elevate your quality of life. Across the street, across the country, when disaster strikes, DKI Canada is here to help. Whether it's water, fire, or wind damage, our experts respond quickly to restore your property to pre-loss condition. With cutting-edge technology and a compassionate approach, we handle emergencies like mold remediation, asbestos abatement, and more, ensuring your safety every step of the way. Your home is more than just a building. It's where memories are made. We're here to help you get back to what matters most. At DKI Canada, we're proud to restore not just property, but peace of mind. For fast, reliable service across the country, call DKI Canada or visit us online today. Hi, I'm Joe Tilley, and I want to tell you about the painting pros. Patrick and his crew recently came into my home, and they painted the walls, they added some color. It's fantastic, and I can't be more satisfied with the work they did. That crew is tremendous. They were professional, they were courteous, they were respectful, and they did a fantastic job. Look at that. Look at that color. I just can't stress enough how satisfied we truly are with Patrick and his crew. For all your painting needs, go with the pros. And we want to thank all the folks who make this show possible. These are friends, trusted business associates, and all-round great people. We highly recommend them all. Thank you for your support of Canadian sports. A reminder that the show is available on iTunes, Spotify, Breaker, wherever you get your podcast from. Also, check out our past shows on YouTube. All of our great shows are on there, including some clips and shorts. Like and subscribe. It's absolutely free. On social media, you can find us at Joe Swiss Tilley on Instagram and X. On Facebook, we're Joe Tilley's Great Canadian Sports Show, of course. And thank you once again to our fabulous guests for being on this recovery program. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. Brian Gribben Insurance Planning, helping you solidify your financial future.
At BGIP, what we do that's unique in the marketplace is we show people how to spend and enjoy their money in the early years of retirement without the fear of running out. Also, we're able to do this without you having to change financial advisors. Please look us up at bgip.ca today. Let's book a 30-minute phone call to see how we can bring value to you and your family in your planning.
Call Brian today for all your retirement needs. We did. 905-686-5882. 5678. MNP, a leading Canadian national accounting, tax, and business accounting firm. MNP proudly serves and responds to the need of their clients in the private, public, and nonprofit sectors. Through partner-led engagements, MNP provides a collaborative, cost-effective approach to do business and personal strategies to help people and organizations to succeed across the country and around the world. With local offices in Oshawa, Mississauga, Burlington, and more, their team is here to support you. Visit mnp.ca today to learn more. Rooted in 60 years of tradition, Sleepy Hollow is a private golf club with a friendly community of members just minutes from Toronto. With mature trees and rolling fairways, Sleepy Hollow provides a challenging and enjoyable experience for passionate golfers. Enjoy great golf, amazing dining, and a picturesque patio second to none. Visit sleepyhollowcountryclub.com. Joe Tilley here. My wife Penny Claire and I recently took an amazing trip to Egypt and Jordan with Trip Oppo. And here are our top 10 must-dos. Last but not least, we relaxed at a luxury resort and took a dip in the famous Dead Sea. This beautiful resort was a perfect way to cap off our incredible adventure in Egypt and Jordan. After days of exploring ancient ruins and bustling markets, it was wonderful to just kick back, put on a little mud, and soak up the sun by the Dead Sea. Oh, I almost forgot to mention the amazing cuisine in Egypt and Jordan. Don't forget to try the delicious local food like mouth-watering Egyptian barbecue. And the best part is that our Trip Oppo tour includes almost all of the meals, so you can indulge in the local cuisine without worrying about opening your wallet. I would highly recommend that you book your next trip through Trip Oppo. Call them today. Guests on Joe Tilley Sports receive a gift certificate from Classica Imports. Top of the line imported men's clothing. Check out the Classica Essential Collection now. Go to shopclassica.com.